After my divorce, I entered into what I affectionately call my red flag era, a thrilling, chaotic time where my type was basically anyone with a pulse who needed fixing. It was like I walked out of the courthouse and straight into a carnival of walking caution signs. If a man had emotionally unavailable written across his forehead in neon, challenge accepted. I wasn't dating, I was conducting case studies, field research to see how long I could ignore my gut instincts in favor of let's ride this crazy train until it crashes. And for a hot minute, it was exciting, but it wore off pretty fast. Looking back, I wondered just what in the hell I was thinking. But then I realized it was a crash course in healing because every walking red flag I entertained held up a mirror I didn't know I needed. They showed me my patterns, my blind spots, and my Olympic level ability to overlook absolutely everything except potential. Each bad decision came with a lesson attached, usually delivered in all caps, sometimes with sirens. So, yeah, it was messy, questionable, and probably should have come with a disclaimer. But it was the curriculum I needed to graduate into someone who finally knows what I want and, more importantly, what I will never tolerate again. Let's dissect a few of these red flags, shall we? This will be fun. The first red flag, I will call him the Charmstick. Charmstick slid into my MySpace. Yes, MySpace. Remember that? Back in prehistoric social media? He messaged me literally one day after I started a brand new account. He was a smooth talker, telling me I was beautiful every day, sending selfies, using those big vocabulary words that made me swoon, like I was reading a romance novel written by a thesaurus. Cute in that nerdy, skinny, could be knocked over by a gentle breeze kind of way. He wrote long love letters too, actual paragraphs, not the abbreviated text era we live in today. And I ate it all up because I didn't realize just how starved I was for emotional attention after being married to someone who thought my needs were optional. He said he was also going through a divorce, so it was something that we shared. So there we were, 120 miles apart. And for reasons I still can't explain to this day, he became my weird little obsession. So much so that I literally manifested a job in his town just to be closer. Spoiler alert, the job, by the way, lasted longer than he did. Because, surprise, Charmstick turned out to be very much still married, still living with his wife. And, according to a coworker who knew him from a previous job, an absolute slimeball who was a bit of a player. Who knew? Apparently, my type back then was men who should have come with a biohazard label. Here's the lesson I learned. If someone swoons you with poetic paragraphs long distance, do a background check. I prefer if the man I'm dating isn't already married. Second red flag, the Paranormal Doofus. After the fiasco with Charmstick, I tightened my circle like Fort Knox. I started talking to a guy I went to school with, technically my junior high school sweetheart, for about 2 whole weeks, which absolutely counts when you're emotionally dehydrated. But I knew him already, therefore he was safe, right? He was refreshingly funny, still living in my hometown, so I would make the 2.5-hour weekend trips down. He felt like this soft landing, a familiar face, a safe little emotional beanbag chair where I could rest my mind and soul. And the man had never been married, never had kids. Bingo! Clean slate. He lived in this old house and completely casually mentioned one day that a ghost lived with him. Just dropped it in conversation like, oh, and by the way, we have a roommate named something. I forget. He had stories about this ghost, plus another ghost, a woman, because apparently spirits travel in pairs. A couple times a month, he would go ghost hunting with a local paranormal group. He had all the equipment too, and he proudly showed me how everything worked, like he was onboarding me to Ghostbusters HR. Honestly, he seemed harmless, and he made me laugh, something I hadn't done in a very long time. My bar at that point was set basically on the floor, possibly underground. Then he got persuasive, very persuasive. Somehow, he talked me into moving back and buying an old home. As fate would have it, the sister company for my job was in my hometown, so I transitioned into an even better position. My career was taking off, the house was mine, and he wasn't on the deed, which, thank God, turned out to be one of the smartest life decisions I ever made. We ended up living together for a couple years, but over time, he just got weirder. Like, oh, that's why you've been single since dial-up internet. Weirder. We could talk, sure, but affection? Nah. The man would rather binge watch Oak Island or Paranormal Witness and then accuse me of seeing other people or throw toddler-level tantrums about absolutely nothing. That's when reality slapped me right across the face. So I slapped his ass right to the curb. And then he stalked me for a few months because nothing says closure like a grown man acting like a haunted Roomba that won't stop following you. Lesson learned. Ghosts are entertaining. Living with one-man tantrums and jealousy? Not so much. I don't want immaturity. Third red flag. Hobble Hunk. After kicking Paranormal Doofus to the curb, I started talking to someone I knew through him because they worked together. Enter Hobble Hunk. Piercing blue eyes. Harley rider, limping from a recent fall off a roof. A little broken, a little badass, and completely adorable. He was the type who preferred a fully textual relationship over an actual in-person one. We'd sit in our respective homes texting for hours, emotionally intimate, but physically nowhere. And when we finally did hang out, honestly, it was boring. Damn it, I really wanted to ride on his Harley. He promised me road trips, concerts, basically the whole cinematic biker romance package. But somehow, none of that ever materialized. At the time, he was tangled up in visitation battles and drama with his ex-wife. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But deep down, I think he just didn't feel like he measured up for me. Or maybe me being 7 years his senior threw him off. Who knows? He was adamant that he would never, ever remarry. And honestly, that was fine by me. Then I found out he was flirting with other girls online when I wasn't around, which is not cool. So after a few months, that little situationship fizzled out. The ironic twist, I ended up becoming good friends with his mom after we split. And a few years later, I found out he got remarried for the third time. And the cherry on top, to this day, I still catch him trolling my social media. He pops up like a digital ghost from boyfriends past. I have to laugh. Lesson learned. If the relationship lives entirely in your texts, don't be surprised when his real personality has the emotional depth of a potato. After Hobble Hunk, I decided to take a long break from dating. I focused on work, I hung out with my friends, and I equally enjoyed my alone time. My daughter and I ran around. We had fun. It was simple and nice. But then, last but not least, drum roll please, the fourth and largest red flag. I can't even remember how it started, but somehow I ended up Facebook friends with my realtor's ex-husband. A sentence that already screams mistake, I know. I thought he was intriguing. He had a side gig as a weekend wedding DJ and invited me to a few events. I declined, and I declined again, until one day I didn't. We had a nice dinner. I ended up with him at a wedding reception. I had a great time. He was the life of the party type who always had something fun brewing, and I was finally ready to enjoy life again. So I just let myself get swept right up into the current. He schmoozed me straight into it. Hence his red flag name, the Schmoozer. Schmoozer sent flowers to my work, took me to 5-star restaurants, planned weekend getaways, the whole Hallmark style montage. He was also a recovering pill addict and went to NA meetings 3 times a week. He told me that on day 1, which I found noble. I even started going to meetings with him to support his recovery. Now, he and his brother lived in a house his ex-wife owned. And to this day, I'm not entirely convinced he was paying her rent. His job wasn't the greatest, but somehow he still managed to have all this money to blow on dates. Red flag ignored. 6 months in, he talked me into moving in together. I wanted to buy a house at the time, and thank God, literally, that I didn't. Sometimes the universe steps in and yanks you by the collar before you ruin your own life. Bad. So we ended up getting a townhome. I paid the entire rent. He paid the utilities. Unfair? Yeah, probably. Did I argue? No. Why? Because he was still schmoozing like his life depended on it. And not just with me, he schmoozed everyone. Bartenders, servers, hotel concierge, clients, stray house plants, everyone. To the point where it was cringe. I remember after one concert where he dragged me and his daughter out behind the venue in a freezing December wind just so he could accidentally bump into the band at their tour buses. I'm sure those poor guys just wanted to go home, and there he was trying to charm his way into free tickets, backstage passes, or an adoption. Then things got darker. His personality soured, moody, impatient, snappy. He would take a 3-day weekend and not move from the couch, wouldn't shower for days. It was gross. I kept my distance. The one bright spot was visiting my grandmother every couple weeks. She adored me. I adored her, and I liked that he wanted to see her too. We would arrive. I'd chat with her for a minute, and he'd head straight to the bathroom. And I never really paid attention to how long he stayed in there because I was too busy catching up. This went on for a while until one day I went to see my grandma alone, and she dropped the bomb. Honey, he's been stealing my meds. I was mortified. She assured me they were extras that she didn't need, but that didn't make it any less disturbing. While I thought he was in the bathroom, he was actually in her bedroom, rummaging through her dresser drawers like a raccoon. And that was the final straw. I tossed him out like yesterday's trash. No guilt. Lesson learned. Pay attention to the tiny things, the mood swings, the weird behavior, the inconsistencies, that sudden sulk, the disappearing acts, the little lies, the over-the-top charm. They are all flashing neon warning signs. Trust your instincts. Looking back, all those red flags, Charmstick, Paranormal Doofus, Hobble Hunk, and the Schmoozer taught me exactly what not to settle for. They made me trust my gut, notice the small, weird things, and stop mistaking charm for care. And because of that, I've finally found a man who checks all my boxes, treats me like I deserve, and who I trust completely. No drama, no ghosts, no schmoozing, just real love. So, thank you, red flags. After all that chaos, it feels like I finally hit the jackpot without even buying a ticket. Thanks for watching. And I have some more bad choices I would love to share with you. So grab some popcorn and enjoy.